People get a double header this week.
So part
This
2.
is great.
Yes. Yeah, I bumped my power cable, and apparently my computer doesn't even last 1 second without being plugged in. This I learned
Oh.
now, so good to
Oh
know.
no.
It's all right.
That's
Um,
no fun.
so I have another example. I'm trying to think how to best do this. There's 3 parts that I wrote out, but I can't play 3 parts at the same time. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to this is a lay of the land, okay? There's some upper strings sustaining some notes at the top. And what I'm playing is like low orchestral instruments.
Oh, that sounds so familiar. It's like right there. It's like
This electric piano might be throwing you off.
Was this in the 5th episode of the Bad Batch? I think. Maybe?
yeah, somewhere between minute like 0 and 20, right?
And somewhere in that range.
Somewhere in that range, right?
Yeah. This feels very Zygerian. Is that right or no?
Or very
Is
sneaky.
it something to do with the Zygerians?
Do you have a timestamp? That's kind of vague.
Okay. Do it one more time. Let's hear it one more time.
I think it's horns, not this. But the strings are sustaining this. Oh. I'm going to loop myself. Okay.
Is this when they're talking to Sid and getting the information for the bounty?
It's one of maybe it's in the first third. It's in the first half.
Yeah, because I found that seemed very strangely, ominously scored. Like,
it was dark.
What seems
Yeah.
to be
Really dark.
right. It sounded very dark and foreboding. I was,
Mhm.
it was interestingly, and I don't think I really that registered for me when I first watched it. I think I was just kind of feeling those feelings, but when I started listening, I was like, was it that moment though, Xanthi?
Let me check.
Okay.
That's not what I wrote. I don't think it is. I just want to make sure. What I remember is the sonic stuff. Like, I remember what Omega is like saying. And okay, maybe I'm not making it sound ominous enough. Not ominous, but like reminiscent of when they're looking for when they're trying to recreate the like IDs from a previous
Uh-huh.
episode. It's sort of just like something is afoot and like we have to be careful and like Omega's in the scene.
So maybe is it?
They looking out over the cliff.
No.
About to say it's either that or when they're chained up and they see Omega and Tech is trying to say this isn't a military plan. I don't know what to do anymore.
No.
Oh, this is another hard one.
Boom, boom, boom,
Okay.
boom. I don't know. First third, huh?
Justin,
Oh,
one of your sounds is actually involved in it.
is this when they're talking to Bib then? When Sid
No,
is
it's when
talking to
Omega
Bib?
is calling on her comm for
Oh,
Tech, like, come in,
Oh,
Tech,
at the
Hunter.
very beginning.
Well,
No,
no, like 10 minutes in.
the second. Yeah, yeah. So she's on her way to the rescue. That's what
Yeah.
it is, and she doesn't get anything. That's the second.
I
Yeah, okay.
see.
Yeah, and
Yes,
your
yes,
comm
yes.
sound is in there. Okay. Do you have more, James, or should I continue?
I got another one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me quickly. Okay. Let me just get it real quick. All right. All right. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Here we go, y'all.
Is that at 13:05?
No, but it's probably. I mean, this whole sequence, this kind of thing happens.
Is it when they're about to
lot.
face? Is it when they're about to face off? That sounds like very much like, all right, we're gearing up for war music. Like, I mean, the Rancor.
I'd say the second thing you said was, I'd say, pretty accurate, but the first thing is not accurate.
When they're first charging in the mission before they get caught. Yeah.
Exactly, Justin. Exactly. So this is when they've just scoped everything out. They just told Omega to. This is 7:33, and you hear this.
Oh
And they're still
wow.
going, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
I got
There's
that one.
no
Yeah,
way I
okay,
was.
I heard
no
one.
way I was getting it.
Yes.
I'm like, it's familiar vaguely, but wow, that's kind of embarrassing. Okay.
Embarrassing, says the person that stumped us like twice in a row. Like, so I don't. We're like Justin and I spent all time the whole episode listening for beeps, swoops, and drums that we forgot to like listen to any of the like the main themes. So
Okay, I have one more. I have two, but they're kind of similar in spot.
Sounds like the opening
And then I'll continue. You can be like vague in terms of like what section this is.
okay. that, Justin?
Is the digga 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 digga, is that going over top of all that? Do they layer
No,
like
it's
that, or is
before.
it one after another? Okay. Mm.
Wow, we're like all so good at this and bad at it.
Yeah.
This is so funny because I'm all these big orchestra moments. There's so much action happening. I think that I was getting lost in that, or I'm. Ugh. Digga 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 digga.
Toward the end.
It's on you, James. It's on you, James.
You said it's towards the end, Xanthi.
Middle to end, yeah.
Middle to end. Okay. Um, is this when Hunter goes and squares up against the Zygerian? Is that moment when he goes and fights the guy with the light whip?
Yeah.
Woo!
Light whip was the key thing.
Dang.
The light whip sounded
Hey!
so ridiculous, by the way. It sounded so painful. That sound like the
Oh my
searing,
gosh.
like I was just like, oh, who made that light whip sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost, that was one of my candidates to like make, but I knew that one was gonna get a little was gonna be easier since it was so like
Visceral.
kind of
Yeah.
things. Like,
Yeah.
what are
Ooh,
the lightning electrical things in this episode?
what a sound. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, my notes were
Yeah.
dugga duggas. So Justin, what you said was exactly dugga 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 dugga. And then it was the rancor. It's very low. Tritones.
Mhm.
It's everything
cool.
sounds very different on an electric piano. I think the sound has been throwing everyone off a little bit. So anyway, that's all I had.
Excellent.
Nice. Nice.
I have to study better next time.
I think we all do.
Likewise.
Well, we
That
all
was
But
gotta
fun
I
study.
though.
there wasn't a whole lot of big themes in this episode. I mean, the
Yeah.
Bad Batch theme was the one that seemed to be the fodder for development. In a lot of these sneak around scenes, you hear this like dun 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 dun. You know, on the like staccato strings, it would happen every once in a while. I didn't hear any of Omega's material. Obviously, we heard a little
Oh,
bit of that Fennec
I
theme.
actually did hear Omega's material come in once.
Where? Yeah,
Yeah.
where?
Okay. It was it was at 1719.
1719. What's going on there? When she picks up the gun? Oh. Well, that's interesting. That's right when she picks up the crossbow.
It's very short. It only happens like dee, 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 and that's pretty much it. And
Maybe she's
I
gonna.
did hear the Bad Batch theme 2 or 3 times, but
Yeah.
really subtly.
Little ones. Yeah.
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 I think one of them was like, oh no, that's something I already played. What was it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I flunked this out before going live. Yeah, okay.
We have a Moochie on stream right now.
Around 7 minutes. When they're looking over the cliff. Yeah, there's the hints of the Bad Batch. Yep.
Yeah.
Right here.
Hey.
Right there. But like harmonized really kind of weird. Dee, dee, dee.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a part. That was like the one of the big themes I heard was that just for like half a second. There.
Yeah, for sure. And that is like a very like tritone heavy, obviously. Wait, what was it? Dee, 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 dee. I wonder if we'll hear that again, because I did hear that a lot. Dee, dee, dee.
It's like a good motivic kind of not quite a theme, not quite a, you know.
Yeah. Here. Tritone. Tritone.
Mm.
Tritone. Fourth. Yeah. Very creepy tritone Bad Batch theme. And then I heard it again
Yeah.
once later. And I think F minor.
Well, it's interesting to hear that Omega's theme comes in at that moment that you mentioned, where she's picking up that crossbow, and they really frame that, like even just the shot of her picking that thing up. It's like
Yeah.
now I've got this weapon, right? And it's like now this is my thing. So I think there's gonna be obviously some moment where she's like just like owning people with that thing. Like it's like I think she's gonna have like some massive like action hero moment with that crossbow sometime soon because apparently they framed it or they gave her theme in that moment. They framed it like she's like this, you know, she's picking up her axe, So now she's got a comm link, she's got a crossbow, She's about to be like mini Rambo in the next couple
Yeah,
episodes.
and it's interesting because in the the last stream we did, we had talked about the possibility of the Fennec theme and the Bad Batch theme making a combination moment. I wonder if Omega's gonna get a Bad Batch theme, like maybe like that's when she, because I mean she's part of the crew. We know that she's part of the crew now,
Right.
but like this is now she's a bad batch
Yeah.
kind of a thing. A bad batcher. That's what she called her.
Bad
stormtrooper.
Badger. How cute was
Yeah.
that when she does up her stormtrooper thing, right? For it to
Yeah.
be that was
She's a
awesome.
bad batcher now.
I
Bad
made him look
batcher.
like a bad batcher. That's a terrible accent right there.
Do you like it? Um,
I've always
yeah.
wondered how she got her accent. I know because she hung around mostly Camino Medical a lot. I've always was curious if she would have picked up more of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
somber,
But then why does
sober,
Tech have a posh British accent?
right?
Oh, it's true. This is a good question here because why do all the clones have that? Is it there's something genetic that they program in to learn how to speak? Because none of the Kaminoans have a New Zealand accent, but all of the clones have a New Zealand accent, right?
Well,
Which
that might be
That
from
makes
Django, like specifically because that's what Django had.
right, which is like
Suppose,
not that that's inherited, but okay.
Right, which is
Sure.
also interesting, right? Clearly, it's not inherited.
Yeah.
Clearly, but here's
But it's
little Omega, this like thick, all over the
the
place.
thickest, right? The
Yeah,
thickest accent out of everybody. So yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. The genetics of accent development. Like,
and
why
and
does
cloning.
Ray have like a thick, posh British accent when she spent most of her life like on this like desert planet, right? Very odd.
Starting as
There's
a
something more,
kid, you'd think that after a while she would just forget basic speak and just start speaking other languages that were down there.
right? Interesting. There's something too out of this.
What do you think
And
is
does everybody have a babblefish in their ear? Do we all know what the babblefish is? Have you ever heard of a
Oh, from
babblefish?
the Babelfish is from what's that from? What do you call it?
You know
Hitchhiker's
it.
Guide? Is that?
Yeah. Hitchhiker's
Yeah.
Guide to the Galaxy. It's a little fish that everybody
Yay.
in the galaxy has in their ear that feeds off of language and brainwaves. And by some natural anomaly, it just translates everything to you. Everything. And
Mm.
so I've always wondered, like in Star Wars, how they like to speak in two different languages at the same time, but they both understand each other
Right.
always. One speaking in English and one speaking in Huttese. Huttese.
I
Is that what it
We
is?
I think
Xantha,
the
we've talked about Jabba before in the huts and how Jabba seemingly is the only big hut on the council that like refuses to speak English to anybody. And
Mhm.
my theory is that he's just like it's almost like a superiority thing. He's like, I don't need to speak your language. You speak to me, I'll speak Huttese to you, and I'm not. But all of his relatives like speak like with like a southern drawl.
Yeah.
In
ugh,
Right.
English.
don't get me started on zero. I can't.
Oh my
But
god.
I think the way that I explain it to the way that I understand it is that all of the stories that we're seeing are from a certain point of view, And through all of the narrative, like, all of the filmmaking devices and all, like the music and all of the cinematography and the costume, like everything is one big narrative device to tell us this story. And I think it's more like it speaks to what the people who, the creatures that are telling us the story, how they interpret the communication barriers and lack of barriers. So I don't know if that makes sense, but like, yeah, if they want to, like, if they perceive that Jabba is non-understandable, then in the narration, like as a narrative device, they're not going to normalize his language to match everyone else. But for characters where it's just like, am I making any sense? This is all very deep
Yeah.
in
No,
my
I'm
head, and
I'm
because I
totally
think
hearing what you're saying.
I think the same thing for musical themes, even, which is how I explained Theron's theme.
Yeah, there's a point of view to the storytelling, and
Mhm.
that's theory of like Star Wars being a mythology. And there's been, of course, in the last like 24 hours, then there's been this like nerd uproar about the Rancor. I don't know if y'all have been
Yeah,
paying
I don't think
attention to
it's a
this thing.
huge rank. I don't think it's a huge uproar, but yeah,
No, but it's like it's significant enough of how petty and ridiculous it is, right? Which is
I
Yeah.
don't
like
think it's petty.
basically Uh, it's a, I mean, so I mean, I understand. I understand the I understand it, and not to say that anybody that like to like put my opinion out there, but I think what your point stands in terms of like this interpretation, whereas like one of the books named the Rancor,
Yeah.
in Jabba's palace
Mm-hmm.
as being named a different name, and this Rancor is named Muchi, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and it seemingly is like the interpretation is like this is the same Rancor because just through the general public's understanding of like who Bib Fortuna is, who Jabba the Hutt is, and that they have a Rancor, it's seeming like the most obvious Occam razors,
Mhm.
like a conclusion you should come to is like, oh, this growth, and because it's an adolescent Rancor, like it's like obviously going to grow up and be bigger. You're like, oh, that is the Rancor from Jabba's palace. However, all the book folks are like, no, that Rancor's name is Batiza. It was in the Aftermath books, which is totally legit. It's totally legit,
Mhm.
right, with canon. But there is like a sense of mythology, right, which is like, well, maybe it's kind of like in Greek mythology. Well, in the Greek version of this story, this character did this, but in the Roman version of this story, this character did this. So there's almost like
Gotcha.
there's a little bit of that. You can go that way with it if you want to, or you can just be like, well, it's the same Rancor, or you can say it's not the same Rancor. It's kind of up to the viewer, right?
Maybe
To
they
kind of go
changed
with way,
names halfway through. You
right,
never know.
right.
Maybe this is
Which
like maybe this speaks to how why I don't have a big social life, but I think whenever there are so-called arguments or criticisms like this, it always illuminates for me what assumptions everyone has about the way things work, which usually aren't assumptions that I have. So to even have to even be to even be debating this point and being sure of what side that you're on, for me that assumes that every creature keeps the same name. It assumes that creatures don't ever change gender. It assumes that
Mhm.
whoever mentioned the name of one thing wasn't saying a nickname. It assumes that someone mentioning something didn't just have a detail wrong. It assumes that like there can't be more. Like it's just having like clues that point us down one path or another does not prove anything. And so I get a little bit like I don't mind the intellectual exercise, and I think in terms of things that people can debate, like I think of it in terms of like, if people are going to prove that point for like a college essay or something, then I guess they're going to like try to form an argument and like for the exercise of it. But at the end of the day, I think unless it's confirmed either way, I think the only answer is I don't know. Maybe it
Right.
could be. And that goes for like both sides. I mean, I think it's a pretty innocuous debate, probably, in terms of
Yeah.
considering
Sure.
all the other things that Star Wars fans fight about. But I also
Mhm.
don't think it's like, I don't think it's bad to care about something and want to make it make sense. I just am continually astounded by what presuppositions people need in order to make things make sense. Like, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
there are
of
just so many
course.
levels of like, okay, I read Aftermath, so okay, so I don't know. I don't know in this world if rancors change genders. There are some animals that do on Earth, even. So, like,
Totally.
I don't know
And there are different
enough.
species of
Like,
rancor too.
how many
So
nicknames do we have for like various animals? Like, just yeah,
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, and that's I like that approach to it. I think it's like giving it the benefit of the doubt for the sake of your headcanon. I think that's good, and
yeah.
I think I tend to take that approach too with this type of thing too. You know,
Though I personally like the idea that Luke fought against a rancor named Muchi, um, and that we named the cutest thing in the universe Grogu, and gave one of the more interesting looking creatures
that's
Muchi.
that's really funny.
I think
That's
that's
really funny.
hilarious, and that's my headcanon.
Yeah.
That's how I flipped it.
I like it. I like
I
Moochie.
love that moment in this
Yeah, me
episode
too.
where what's I don't know the species of the two people that they think are the people they're there to save. The green skinned people.
Oh,
Like
okay, okay. I forgot.
I don't remember, but I
The
just that moment where he goes, "We're not Moochie, that's Moochie." And they have it's just such a funny it's honestly it's classic like old school Star Wars humor. You're just
Mhm.
like like this giant this giant like beast is Moochie in there. That's where they're
And
yeah.
it plays with these assumptions that we think, they go in and thinking that we're saving a kid. We've been around Omega this entire time, so we're gonna save another kid, kind of thing. And the kid just happens to be this 500-pound baby rancor.
Yes.
But Omega's not like phased by it. Like that's something that I like. Is she's like, yeah, of course, like so cute.
Which is
Like she has
interesting
a
for
fondness. She has like a fondness of animals, like Ezra, I guess. And like I think I think this is a Star Wars thing, maybe, or maybe
it's
it's a Dave
interesting
Filoni
for her
thing.
too, because she hasn't seen any of this. Like how excited she is just to go to a different planet, while this is just something that's like normal for everyone else, perhaps most people
Yeah.
and beings and creatures in the galaxy. But the fact that she's facing all of this for the first time without fear, either she doesn't know or understand what that means, and perhaps that gives her such a really strong character trait to want to charge in and just do things, because they didn't even explain the plan to go rescue Muchi, and she's like, I'm in. I'm in, let's do it.
Yeah.
No clue what kind
And
of
she
danger
hasn't
this is.
learned yet to be fearful of a rancor. She hasn't like learned to be disgusted by a rancor yet, and I think that's just a good lesson, I guess. Or it's
Yeah.
just nice to see that not everyone has to be disgusted by the same things. Like some of these
Hmm.
things you learn, I guess. So, ah,
I mean, Bib goes up and just cuddles that thing the moment.
yeah,
Oh, I love yeah. Again, anytime they say this thing's name, it's yeah, right?
Moochie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Apparently they're all Italian as well. Oh, the Moochie. Oh, I hear the Moochie outside. Like that's what he sounds like when he does that. He like hears the growling outside the door and is like, "Oh, that's Moochie." It's hilarious.
Which
It's
I thought
hilarious.
was funny, because when he hears the roar from the distance, he immediately knows that that's Muji.
Oh, it's a Moochie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and uh, and the other thing, you've got that scene in Return of the, and this is why I agree with it. Like I'm gonna in my head canon, this is the same Red Rancor through any other number of
I think it
things.
was confirmed. I think Filoni actually confirmed it.
Yeah, somebody in the production actually
Yeah.
confirmed it, right? So I'm gonna go with that,
Yeah, that's what
and
I
for
like.
any of the number of reasons that we've talked about. But because there's that moment in Return of the Jedi where you've got that. I always thought that was such a funny moment after Luke kills a Rancor, and you've got
So sad.
the
Yeah.
Rancor Wrangler, and he's like crying,
Yeah.
like about the Rancor. And I remember just being
Yeah.
like, what? Like, yeah, this guy has obviously formed a bond, but then now you see behind the
I
you
already
know
thought it
the
was sad, even in
yeah.
Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Well, that's
Mhm.
Like he
awesome. That's
cares for
awesome.
him, clearly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but now we get a little bit of that. You're like, oh, well, now I can understand, because it like when Omega's riding in on the Rancor on the way in, like that's adorable. You can see a touching side of the Rancor. I'm happy for
Yeah.
that. Very happy
Maybe
for
for
that.
all we know, Rancors are just wonderful, peaceful creatures, and
Well, they're probably not. I
Luke
don't think they're
dropping
peaceful
into its
creatures.
cave was not a good idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, this is seemingly a theme of this show, which is like these assumptions that people have and the free will and expectations that you have. Like the clones, the Bad Batch, are going to have to wrangle with their chips and their free will and what expectations have been of like their purpose, right? Which is like their purpose. What they were built to like kill the Jedi and work for the Empire, right? And they're gonna have to face that soon. And the Rancor was built to be a beast to destroy things, but obviously there's more to this animal than just that, right? So I think it's interesting to see these themes come in and out, right? It's like what you were built for and what you ultimately do, like with your life, what kind of autonomy you have over those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
before we end, what predictions do you have for the music or sound going forward? What do you think we'll hear in the next episode?
Well, I'm definitely hoping now for an Omega theme and Bad Batch theme mix up or mashup or like a moment for Omega to have that theme really play kind of a thing.
I still
Maybe
don't
not
know
like
what you're talking about, but
the Bad Batch theme
yeah.
instead of
You know how like
when
the
Omega
end
does
credits?
something.
The end
Yeah,
credits kind of
yeah,
spill
yeah,
from one
yeah.
to the other. But do you mean like
Like kind
crossing
of,
over at the same time?
yeah,
Okay.
kind of a thing. Like the moment where like the Bad Batch theme, the trooper, our main batch theme kind of Omega gets encompassed, her theme gets
Okay.
kind of mixed into that to
Enmeshed.
show that she's part of the group.
All right.
Uh,
I'd be interested to hear that
yeah.
too. You, James?
Okay. So I want to go listen to the sound world of Return of the Jedi and Jabba's palace and all those sounds that those I want to hear I want to go back and listen to all the band and everything in Jabba's palace, and I'm curious at how much of that is going to reappear, because it's very clear that they're like working for the criminal underworld now, at least for the near future. They're going to wrangle with that scene. So what I want to pay attention to is like, yeah, like those sounds of those aliens, those sounds of, I want to hear some Huttese, maybe some sliced noodles. We'll hear coming
I
forward.
so doubt that, but okay.
We'll see. We'll
I don't
see.
think we're gonna get
Uh,
any. I don't think we'll get size noodles, but I would love to. So I will be very happy if we do. Some Max
that
Rebo, even.
wouldn't that be yeah? What if we get a little young Max Rebo?
That would be hilarious.
So I'm gonna go out there and say we will absolutely get a young Snice Snoodles or a Max Rebo, and we'll hear them give a performance in the next couple episodes for sure.
I think
100%.
Max Rebo is definitely possible. I would like to see that. I think we're gonna get. I still think we're gonna get more of that Fennec thing, and I think we're gonna get more of the.
Mhm.
And I still think we're gonna get more of the. But we haven't had episodes about missing Echo. I mean, missing Crosshair. So maybe
Crosshair,
that's why we
right?
haven't had it in a while.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
strangely
Crosshair.
absent for the last couple
I
episodes.
still think I think they've withheld Crosshair a lot these past 2 episodes. I feel like next episode it's gonna
We're
be
gonna get some
Crosshairy, and I
Crosshair.
think we're gonna get that 7th theme. Yep, more diegetic. I think we're gonna get more. I think
Yes.
we're gonna get diegetic music in like almost every episode. So I think we're gonna get some more. Yeah, let's see how our predictions hold up.
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, they're gonna put out a soundtrack after 8. I think so.
Good.
I think that means episode 6, 7, 8. I mean, there hasn't been super much yet, I think, to be an episode. I mean, an album. So I feel like it's going to be heavy on good music, like long spans of music. Music out in the open, because you didn't get much music out in the open in this episode. So yeah, it was like all mixed very low with the dialogue and the action mostly on top of it. So I think we're going to get some more music in the open where we can actually hear what's going on.
Still no people playing instruments yet. So
I'm still waiting for
like
that.
on screen.
I'm still
we're
waiting for someone
it.
to
Telling you.
whistle, play. Yeah.
What's
Old
that
Maxie's
instrument that they wanted to play in Rogue One? Rogue One, they're sitting around the campfire, and no, not Rogue One, Solo.
In
The
Solo, it's the Valachord.
The Valachord.
Yeah, the Valachord, right?
Haven't
And then like
heard
he
that.
says that as his last dying wish. He's dead at the end. Spoilers, everybody. And he's like, I still would have want to play that Valachord. It's like, I want to know what the hell instrument this is.
Star Wars diegetic music. I have so many things on my wish list. They explain so many more musical things like in the books that I'm like, why haven't we heard this amazing so-called thing? You could do this.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to happen in this show. But gosh, I hope maybe in some I don't know, maybe in some more stuff with Thrawn.
Oh man, if we ever
Maybe
get
in some more stuff with High Republic, because in High
I was just
Republic
gonna say,
there's that singer
Mhm.
that like does 6-part harmonies by herself.
that's right. And then we've got Avar Chris, who like visualizes the Force as like music,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so many thoughts. Well, thank you for joining again for another Bad Batch quiz and commentary session. I think it's safe to say that everyone really brought it, and we all feel yes, the bar is up.
Bar
No,
has
seriously
been
though, I
up,
think
y'all.
it's fun that we all have like different things that we pay attention to.
I was just
I think it's
thinking
like
about
so
how
great.
great of a mix this is. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been-
because I think also of people listening and like people who aren't musicians might might notice different things too, or or none of these things, or just have a different way of looking at stuff. Yeah, it's all great. It's all great. Shall we sing the outro?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay. Let's do it. We have to end on a like.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. See. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do 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 do.